Hey everybody, my name is Gerry, I'm from Wild Eye, and this is episode 59 of the Wildlife Photography Q&A videos, which Johan and I host every week. So the last two episodes was in the field. 58 was at Saseka in the Thornybush Game Reserve. The week before, we were actually at Johan's house, and on both occasions, it was slightly different format. So at Johan's house a couple of weeks ago, we answered YouTube comments, because YouTube comments are interesting at the best of times. And last week we did a specific episode on Thornybush, the lodges and how it works. Those are live, ready to go. For now, we're back to the normal format where you guys send us questions and we answer them for you. I'm hosting this week, Johan's hosting next week, and then we do one together. So without any further ado, first question, here we go.
Your thoughts on the Sony A7 III and Sony 200-600 combo, especially the eye tracking feature?
Okay, so I don't have any first-hand experience with the Sony and the 200-600, but from what look, Sony's changing the game. Make no mistake. The cameras are top quality, the glass is amazing, and this new tracking feature that they have, from what I've seen, both in the field, on the camera, with other people, and on videos, it is definitely worth a look. I think that kind of technology is going to keep on rolling out. Companies like Nikon, Canon, Olympus, whoever else, they will eventually start introducing this. But with Sony being a first mover, I do think it's worth looking at. The one thing maybe I'm just a bit of a skeptic here, but when the Nikon D850 came out, everybody was like raving, 50 megapixels, it's amazing. And people were actually saying you could literally just shoot in the middle of your frame and then crop in. So I was concerned it was going to make us lazy. That composition goes out the window. So I think if you can use that eye tracking feature, it's shit hot, it's good. But don't rely just on that. There's still the camera, you still have to frame in it. You can't just place it and allow the animal to do what it does. So still keep in mind composition and framing, but the technology is definitely worth a look.
Any new additions or updates on the Mora camp?
Okay, so I think the biggest change to the Mora camp this year compared to last year is that it'll be open, which is a good thing. Jason, we are always looking. I don't think since the very first time we ever put the tents up, not one single year has gone by that we did not make changes. So whether that be to the wine that we're sourcing, whether it is to the food menu, I'm just racking my brain. We've had a couple of meetings and Zoom things about this with Billy. There are changes, but a lot of it is kind of just under the surface. So if you were there in 2019, right, you might see one or two changes, but it is going to look fresh and feel fresh. The staff are rearing to go. I mean, for those of you that know the staff, they are pumped to work with guests. And with not having done it last year, they're ready to go. So yes, it'll be open. And yes, there's quite a few changes. And for those of you that have been there 4 or 5 times, you guys are awesome, but you will notice things. So yeah, Jason, literally every single year we look at and reassess the smaller details. So I suppose the only way to find out is come and join us again and check it out.
I want to do an internship under you. I'm from India.
Cool. Manpreet. Okay, so this is the question we get pretty often. Now, Manpreet, here's my problem, right? We get people asking for internships, and then when you engage with them, there's almost no wildlife photography background, or wildlife background, or photography background, or hospitality background, or travel background. It's just that people see what we do online, and I think they get lost in the romance. And that's what you guys want to intern often. How many of you would like to come and intern sitting here doing spreadsheets and shit all day long? Because that's a lot of what we do. You answer emails, you're in sales meetings, you're in marketing meetings. You guys see the fun side. Now, if you are serious about an internship, maybe don't just say, I want to intern. Maybe then send an email. Hit someone like I think this was asked on Johan's question. Hit him up and say, hey, listen, I like what you do. I would love to be more involved. Can I send you an email? Be nice, ask. Can I send you an email? Johan will say, because he's a nice guy, yeah, absolutely, send me an email. In the email, say, hey, I've been following you for 4.5 years. I love your work. You really ignited something in me. I want to come and be an intern with you. Can I give you a call? Be nice, ask. And work it like that. You're going to get closer that way. Not saying it's going to happen, but you're going to get closer than just saying, I want to intern for you. And that's all I have to say about that.
How do you do the one image split into two everyone is doing on Instagram?
Shazmin, so it is something that a lot of people are doing now. They're taking, for example, for those of you that don't know, they'll take one image and they'll post a carousel of three. The first one would be half the image, then you scroll and it looks like it's one big image, and they scroll and then there's the full image. Before I answer your question, I think it's a nice way to break up the monotony. However, so many people have been doing it that it's like a bit meh now. You know what I mean? But it's a cool trick. Can I suggest that if you do something like that, don't just do two. Rather, why not do 4 or 5 or 6? Then you're being slightly different, yeah? But anyway, how you do it, there's two ways. Either you download, there's quite a few apps. The one is called Panera Lite. Is it? Panera Lite? Panera Split. And literally you put the image and you choose how many blocks. It spits out 3 images for you. You then go into your Instagram, post a carousel, add them next to each other, and it looks like one. Alternatively, if any of you are keen, I can send you a Photoshop file, right, which is split into 10, which is the maximum carousels you can use. And it's got all your guidelines, like guide lines, and you can drop images in there, multiple ones, and they blend together. So that's another way. I've personally been doing it with Photoshop if and when I do it, but Johan showed me this Panera Split this morning, and it really is an easy option, so check that one out.
Stay safe option with sighting that's quick, or try something new and creative. How to decide?
Charlotte, I think the question would be, how much time do you have? A sighting happens quick. So if you leave the lodge in the morning, you should have a standby setting. For example, you're going to go out, the sun's down, which means your ISO has to be up. I would probably go like a 6.3 or a 7.1 on my aperture, jack the ISO up depending on your camera to 1600 or 2000, and then you go out on game drive, assuming you shoot aperture mode, right? And then as the sun, if you don't see anything, as the sun goes up, your ISO will come down. Okay. The only thing I think you should pay attention to going into a sighting is, well, put it this way, when the previous sighting finishes, readjust and just get back to some kind of standby setting. Now, if it's the middle of the day, I'm super lazy with ISO because I trust my camera. So I normally go up to about 800 ISO for the day. I stay there because even if I'm shooting at f11 during midday, I still get a nice shutter speed. So I would normally default back to that. Now, if you get into a quick sighting, that means if you're set up and ready, you can pick up and shoot, right? The decision as to whether you want to be creative or not in a quick sighting, let me be blunt. Either on a quick sighting, you're going to pick up and shoot and nail something, or you're going to fuck it up. It's two sides, right? So to try and be creative in a sighting that's quick is a tough one. Unless you have a split second and you know exactly what you want to do to pan, to radial blur, whatever the case is. So the biggest thing, Charlotte, I think is make sure you always default after a sighting back to whatever your kind of standby is. The creative side will come later. I will share this on my Instagram story as well. I did a presentation a couple of years ago called The Continuum of Wildlife Photography. Now what that is, step one is proof. That's literally you taking a picture. It could be, I could take my phone, right, and just take a picture. It's blurry and crappy, but it's proof that I saw a leopard. Okay? From there you document. The document stage would be where you document the animal properly. So if you imagine a guidebook of animals, that would be a good picture of a lion. Okay? It's boring, but it's a good image. Then you get to storytelling or narrative, stage 3. That's when you spend some time with the animal and you start looking at how can I tell a story? Do I include the cub with just the mom's foot, or do I include the mom's tail with just the cub? That's storytelling. It's not documentation. You're not trying to tell a story. And then, after that, that's when you start getting creative. Panning, blurring, multiple exposures, whatever. If the sighting changes, you start again. You might skip proof because you're now past that. But then again, document, story, creative. Reset. Document, story, creative. So if you get into a quick sighting that happens quickly, you as a good, I know your work, you're a good photographer, you're going to start document first. Put the images in the bank. Boom, boom, boom. And then start worrying about the rest. I hope that helps.
What are your views on trophy hunting in Africa and the revenue it brings to the park? And does the money actually flow into the local community?
Okay, so trophy hunting normally polarizes audience quite badly because you have these two extremes. On the one side, you've got the hunters who, and it might be a generalization, but a lot of the time they are quite hardcore with them telling their story. Okay? They like to push buttons in a way. On the other side, you've got the bunny huggers who don't understand that hunting and culling should be a part of a naturally managed ecosystem. The moment you put a fence around an area, you have to manage it because you've changed nature. Okay. Now, if you put a fence around an area, certain things might happen. The lions will eventually get too many because they're killing, right? So they're getting more and more. Your general prey gets less and less. Eventually, there's a tipping point where the lions will start struggling because there's not enough food, and then the opposite happens. The lions will start getting skinny and die, and this gives the chance for the prey, and you get this play up and down. However, when you've managed that area by putting a fence in, by putting fake water holes in, lodges, roads, etc., you have to manage it, and sometimes hunting is a part of it. Now, I think in the past, the people who managed the hunting processes messed it up for everybody because it was too much, it was under the cover, and they would, like trophy hunting, they would shoot out the main things, and that's where trophy hunting and hunting versus tourism kind of clashes again. Now, let me ask this, can it add good money into an ecosystem and conservation? Yes, it can, if everybody sits around the same table and it's open and transparent. There's too many stories of hunters and PHs and companies going undercover or under the surface, and it's non-ethical. Like the Cyril story from way back where they called him basically out of a protected area. You remember Cyril, dentist, we're going to kill the dentist, all of that, way back. They called him out of a protected area and then they shot him there. That's not ethical. We don't do that. Can it add value to conservation and put money into systems? Yes. If it's open and transparent, and if both parties, hunters, bunny huggers, right, get a little bit closer to the center. If we start from the middle, with the goal being manageable conservation and tourism, hunting can and must play a part of that. But if we go off one side too much, or there's at any point a lack of transparency, it won't work. Now, does the funds roll down to the local communities? Depends on who you ask and how it's managed. Again, that's where the open transparency needs to work. Because if it doesn't, it means that funds are stopping somewhere. Also, let's just be real here. If it's a managed area, right? If it's a managed area and there's a community 10 kilometers from there, should they get hunting money? Now, again, people might not like this. If they are part of the landowners, if this used to be their natural lands way back, sure. Or are we saying that hunting money comes in and we just have to distribute to the areas around us? That's more of a philanthropic thing. That's me trying to give back versus taking that money to where it's going to make a difference. Will it make, and I'm talking off the top of my head here, will it make a difference if we hunt and we just pay the communities around there? What could that do? That could mean that they feel that hunting is a good thing, maybe a too good thing because they make money from it. Or should we rather put that money into the conservation body that manages the area and then distribute it accordingly so that the local communities can understand it's not only hunting that brings money, it's also tourism? You're never going to get a straight answer on this. I believe hunting can be a part of a managed ecosystem as long as it's open and transparent. That's it. Anyway, okay, guys, that's it for this week. Next week, Johan will be hosting again. Please make sure to keep watching our Instagram pages. We'll ask the questions. If you have any questions, I'm going to put Johan and my emails down here. Send them in, and then Johan will answer them for you next week. And the week after, another double episode will be hosted together. Good fun. Thank you for lending us your eyeballs and your ears. Thank you for joining us. We look forward to getting more of your questions, and we'll see you in the next episode. My name is Gerry. I'm from Wild Eye. Bye-bye.